Next to disco music, the 70s is best known for its rock operas and concept albums. But if you search for videos about concept albums on YouTube, you will see the same 20 albums listed over and over again. Many of them are not even concept albums. Here are 10 fabulous concept albums you have probably never listened to before, but which every music lover needs to hear.
Initiate Sequence Retrotron Entertainment presents.
That's 70's Nerd. Many of these albums will receive in-depth videos of their own, but for now, I'm just gonna list them. I'd love to play you clips, but I can't because YouTube. Number 10, Mike Nesmith, The Prison, a book with a soundtrack, 1974. Mike Nesmith from the Monkees, he was the one with the red cap. The album is based on the Bhagavad Gita and came with a book meant to be read while listening to the album. The album's theme is similar to the George Lucas movie THX-11. In Nesmith's tale, the protagonist, named Jason, embarks on a mystical odyssey and discovers that the only real prison is that of the mind. Heavy. Nesmith recorded the album in 1 week. Number 9, Johnny Cash, America, a 200-year salute in story and song, 1970. A journey through American history with the original Man in Black, featuring the legendary Carl Perkins on electric guitar. Number 8, Frank Sinatra, Watertown, 1970. Some consider Frank Sinatra to be the father of the concept album. Comprised of a series of soliloquies in which an unnamed narrator relates the saga of his troubled marriage. This conceptual song cycle was composed by Bob Gaudio from Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, a somber, sobering album and a lost gem from the catalog of Sinatra. Number 7, Mike Oldfield, Hergest Ridge, 1974. A sprawling instrumental suite evoking the fairy realm of Celtic folklore. Oldfield, of Tubular Bells fame, drew inspiration from Hergest Ridge on the border of England and Wales. The 1970s was the era of the multi-instrumentalist artist. On Hergest Ridge, Mike Oldfield plays electric, acoustic, and nylon string guitars, bass guitar, glockenspiel, sleigh bells, mandolin, timpani, a plethora of organs, and the gong. Number 6, Neil Diamond, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, 1973. Technically a soundtrack album, but with the film long forgotten, the album works on its own as a perfect evocation of Richard Bach's very 70s New Age parable. Neil Diamond's 9th album, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, grossed far more than the film and earned its composer both a Grammy and a Golden Globe Award. Number 5, Steve Hackett, Voyage of the Acolyte, 1975. Imagine a cross between jazz fusion and the soundtrack to The Last Unicorn. That'll give you a good idea of what this album sounds like, and it's just as awesome as you'd think. The Genesis guitarist's debut solo album. Each track on Voyage of the Acolyte is based on an archetypal character from the Rider-Waite tarot deck. With a lush symphonic sound, it could be a lost 70s movie soundtrack. It's worth it for the album art alone. Number 4, Rick Wakeman, The Myths and Legends of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, 1975. Moog meets Mallory, a dazzling prog odyssey into the misty realm of Camelot. This album became notorious for being staged in its entirety by costumed actors on ice. I'd give anything to have been there. Number 3, John Anderson, Elias of Sun Hillow, 1975. A symphonic sci-fi saga about 3 magicians from outer space on a mission to rescue 4 mystical tribes from an exploding planet in a bat-winged wooden space galleon. Only in the 70s. Number 2, Alan Parsons Project, Tales of Mystery and Imagination, 1976. Each song recounts an Edgar Allan Poe story on this thrilling prog rock outing from engineer, producer, composer, arranger, songwriter, lyricist, musician, Alan Parsons. This fantastic album went solid gold. Will we ever see its like again? Something tells me the answer is nevermore. And in the number 1 position, Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds, 1978. Possibly the greatest concept album of the 70s, this sprawling double-disc collection recounts the story of H.G. Wells' most famous science fiction novel, featuring the likes of Justin Hayward from Moody Blues and Phil Lynott of Thin Lizzy, and narrated by none other than Richard Burton. The album went multi-platinum and is still being staged as a spectacular live show today. Composer, lyricist, arranger, and producer Jeff Wayne would go on to create another epic concept album in 1992 based on Spartacus. That's all for now. As always,
Be groovy. Comment, like, share, subscribe.